What if I told you that nearly a century ago, Hollywood discovered the perfect formula for male beauty? Not just handsome faces, but archetypes of charisma so powerful. They didn't just dominate the box office, they shaped our very DNA of desire. These were the faces that launched a million daydreams. The profiles that defined an era's idea of the ideal man. But who among them truly stood as the pinnacle? Welcome to our channel, where today, we're not just ranking pretty faces, we're going on a quest to crown the most breathtaking, iconic, and timelessly handsome actor of the golden age. This is more than a list. It's a love letter to 6 men who became more than movie stars. They became legends written in light and shadow. But before we begin, a crucial note. Beauty is always in the eye of the beholder. The golden age was overflowing with extraordinarily attractive men, dozens, who could easily top any list. Our selection today is based not just on classical symmetry, but on that elusive, potent combination of features, screen presence, charisma, and the enduring power of their image. It's about the face that tells a story before a word is spoken. If you have a personal favorite, we'd love to hear about him in the comments below. Now, don't forget to give us a thumbs up and subscribe to Hollywood Secrets for more deep dives into the legends and lore of entertainment. Let's dim the lights and raise the curtain. Number 6. The Sculpted Soul, Montgomery Clift. Our journey begins not with a booming voice or a swashbuckling grin, but with a whisper of profound sensitivity. At number 6, we honor Montgomery Clift, the man who introduced a new kind of male beauty to the screen, beautiful, almost painfully so, and brimming with a psychological depth that was revolutionary. In an era of robust, outdoorsy masculinity, Clift was a revelation. His was not a handsomeness of power, but of perception. His face, described by Elizabeth Taylor as the most perfect face I'd ever seen, was a masterpiece of delicate symmetry, high cheekbones, a full, sensitive mouth, and eyes of such startling clarity and vulnerability that they seemed to see straight through the camera and into the soul of the viewer. Clift's beauty was ethereal and androgynous, challenging the very definition of the Hollywood leading man. He was the tortured poet, the fragile idealist, the young man too fine for the harsh world around him. In George Stevens' A Place in the Sun, his beauty is central to the tragedy. As George Eastman, the poor young man yearning for a life of glamour, his luminous, hopeful face in scenes with Shelley Winters conveys a tender desperation, while in his moments with Elizabeth Taylor's Angela, he radiates a love so intense it seems to physically ache. We believe that this angelic-looking young man could be driven to desperate thoughts because his face shows every flicker of conflict, hope, and despair. His handsomeness is his currency and his curse. This depth was no accident. It was the product of Clift's pioneering commitment to method acting. He didn't just play a role, he inhabited it, and his face became the map of that internal landscape. In From Here to Eternity, even amidst the muscular bravado of Burt Lancaster and the rugged charm of Frank Sinatra, Clift holds the screen with a quiet, coiled intensity. As Pruitt, the principled boxer who refuses to fight, his handsomeness is hardened, weathered by defiance and secret pain. The famous scene where he plays taps on the bugle, tears streaming down his face, is devastating precisely because of that beautiful face contorted by grief. His beauty made his vulnerability exponentially more powerful. Tragically, a devastating car accident in 1956, during the filming of Raintree County, fractured that perfect face and, many argue, his spirit. The change was shockingly visible. The left side of his face was partially paralyzed, and though he remained strikingly attractive, the ethereal youth was gone, replaced by a harder, more haunted look. Yet, in a way, this only deepened his mythos. His post-accident performances in The Misfits or Judgment at Nuremberg carry a tragic weight, the ghost of his former beauty lingering like an echo. Montgomery Clift earns his place on this list not merely for the perfection of his early visage, but for how he used that beauty as an instrument to explore the darkest corners of the human heart. He proved that the most handsome face could also be the most profoundly human. Number 5. The devil-may-care adventurer, Errol Flynn. If Montgomery Clift represented the beauty of the inner life, our number 5 embodies the sheer unbridled joy of physical existence. Ladies and gentlemen, the one and only Errol Flynn. This is handsomeness in motion, a dashing, roguish, and irresistibly lively brand of charisma that forever defined the swashbuckling hero. Flynn didn't just walk onto a screen. He bounded, leapt, and swung into it, usually with a rapier in hand and a mischievous twinkle in his eye. His beauty was athletic, sun-bronzed, and utterly devoid of angst. It was an invitation to adventure. Flynn's face was the perfect template for the romantic hero. Strong, clean features, a head of wavy hair, a confident, slightly crooked smile that could shift from charming to insolent in a heartbeat, and eyes that sparkled with pure merriment. He was the living embodiment of the line, happy-go-lucky. In Michael Curtiz's glorious Technicolor masterpiece, The Adventures of Robin Hood, Flynn is not just playing a role. He is cementing an icon. Dressed in Lincoln green, he moves with the grace of a dancer and the confidence of a man who knows. He is the best swordsman in the room. His handsomeness here is active and heroic. It's in the raised eyebrow as he outtweets Prince John, the broad grin as he feasts with his merry men, and the determined set of his jaw as he fights for justice. He made heroism look like the most fun a person could possibly have. What set Flynn apart was the sheer vitality he projected. His handsomeness wasn't remote or statuesque. It was engaged and engaging. He seemed to be sharing a private joke with the audience, letting us in on the fun. In Captain Blood, his debut that shot him to stardom, we watch a gentleman turned slave, turned pirate king. Through it all, that indomitable Flynn spirit shines. Even in chains, his posture and gaze convey an unbroken arrogance. His famous sword fights, choreographed like energetic ballets, were extensions of his charismatic persona, a display of masculine prowess that was athletic rather than brutish. He was a scoundrel with a heart of gold, and his looks sold that dichotomy perfectly. You believed women would swoon and men would follow him, simply because he carried with him the promise of excitement and a damn good time. Of course, Flynn's off-screen life as Hollywood's ultimate bad boy, filled with legendary carousing, scandals, and a lifelong pursuit of pleasure, only fed his on-screen image. The public conflated the man with the hero. This real-life notoriety added a layer of danger to his charm. Here was a handsome devil who might actually sail away with your wife or your rum. But on film, it translated into a palpable, infectious energy. Errol Flynn's handsomeness is timeless because it represents a pure, idealized form of masculine adventure and joy. He is forever young, forever grinning, forever swinging from a chandelier into our collective imagination, reminding us that sometimes the most attractive thing in the world is an unshakable zest for life. Number 4. The noble patriarch, Gregory Peck. Now, we move from the dashing rogue to the ultimate pillar of integrity. At number 4, we find a face that seemed sculpted by the gods not for frivolity, but for purpose. A face that became synonymous with decency, courage, and moral fortitude. Gregory Peck. His was a handsomeness of profound depth and timeless grace. If the Golden Age had a Mount Rushmore for its ideals of the good man, Peck's profile would be the first one carved. He possessed a towering, commanding physical presence, standing at 6'3" with a strong, clean jawline, thoughtful eyes that could convey immense warmth or steely resolve, and a voice that was a resonant, calming baritone. This was not the beauty of the reckless youth, but of the wise leader, the compassionate father, the unwavering hero. Peck's features had a classical, almost statuesque quality. He looked like a Roman senator or a principled American president from history. This made him perfect for roles of authority and gravitas. Yet what saved him from being remote or cold was an essential kindness that radiated from him. You can see it in his smile. It wasn't the flashy grin of a showman, but a slow, genuine expression of warmth that reached his eyes. This unique combination made him incredibly versatile. He could be the rugged adventurer in the guns of Navarone or Moby Dick. His handsome face weathered and determined, but it was in roles that tapped into his innate nobility, that his particular beauty truly shone. Of course, the apex of this is his Oscar-winning performance as Atticus Finch in To Kill a Mockingbird. Here, Peck's physicality and persona become one with the character. Atticus's goodness is not stated. It is embodied. We see it in the weary but patient lines around his eyes as he reads to Scout, in the firm set of his shoulders as he faces down a mob, and in the profound dignity etched on his face during the trial. Peck's handsomeness in this role is not about romantic appeal, though it is undeniably present. It is about trust. We, like Scout and Jim, look up to that face and believe in its inherent goodness. It is the face of American conscience. He made moral courage not just admirable, but visibly, tangibly attractive. But let's not forget his potent romantic charm. In Roman Holiday, opposite the incandescent Audrey Hepburn, he proves that the noble hero can also be a devastatingly romantic lead. As journalist Joe Bradley, he is world-weary but gentle. His handsomeness here is softer, more approachable. The famous scene at the Mouth of Truth shows his playful side, that warm smile breaking through the reporter's cynicism. We believe Hepburn's princess falling for him because he represents a stability and kindness her life lacks. Gregory Peck's place on this list is secured because his beauty was multifaceted. It was strong and gentle, authoritative and kind, heroic and deeply human. He represented the ideal that a handsome man was, above all, a good man. Number 3. The blue-eyed rebel, Paul Newman. As we reach the top 3, the temperature rises and the intensity deepens. Here we encounter a star whose looks were so famously potent they became their own cultural reference point. At number 3, the man with the most legendary eyes in cinematic history, Paul Newman. Newman's handsomeness was a seismic shift. He wasn't the noble patriarch or the carefree adventurer. He was the cool, anti-establishment rebel with a soul. And his face was the blueprint for a new, more complicated kind of male icon. That face, the shock of brown hair, the perfectly crooked smile, the insouciant demeanor was breathtaking. But those eyes, described as the color of the Mediterranean Sea, they were pools of astonishing, otherworldly blue that the Technicolor process seemed designed to worship. They could be playful, piercing, wounded, or blazing with defiance. Newman's beauty had an electric, modern edge. He often played outsiders, hustlers, and charming ne'er-do-wells, and his looks were central to their appeal. In The Hustler as Fast Eddie Felson, his handsome face is a mask of arrogant ambition that slowly crumbles to reveal raw vulnerability. The pain in those famous eyes after his defeat by Minnesota Fats is devastating. He redefined the movie star as not just a flawless icon, but as a vessel for gritty, realistic emotion. Then, in Cool Hand Luke, he created an immortal symbol of rebellious spirit, with a sardonic smile playing on his lips even in the prison yard. Newman's Luke is a martyr of cool. His handsomeness here is battered but unbroken. The famous line, "What we've got here is failure to communicate," is delivered with a weary, bemused grace that is incredibly compelling. His beauty becomes an act of defiance against a crushing system. Yet, for all his rebel cred, Newman also possessed a sublime and effortless comedic charm. His chemistry with Robert Redford in Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and the Sting is the gold standard for buddy films. In these, his handsomeness is framed by wit and a deep-seated likability. That million-dollar smile is fully deployed, whether he's trying to convince Sundance to jump off a cliff or running a complex con. He and Redford were arguably the two most beautiful men in Hollywood at the time, and their pairing was cinematic lightning. Newman's charm here feels authentic, born of intelligence and a twinkle in those incredible eyes. What makes Paul Newman's handsomeness truly endure, however, is how he himself seemed to wear it lightly, famously self-deprecating about his looks, asking for his epitaph to be, "Here lies Paul Newman, who died a failure because his eyes turned brown." He channeled his fame into a monumental philanthropic legacy. This off-screen humility and purpose added a profound layer of substance to the dazzling surface. He wasn't just a pretty face. He was a man of character, which made him all the more attractive. Paul Newman's beauty was a perfect storm of genetic fortune, magnetic charisma, and serious acting talent, a combination so potent it forever changed the landscape of the Hollywood leading man. Number 2. The King, Clark Gable. We are now in the rarefied air of Hollywood royalty. At number 2, we pay homage to the King, Clark Gable. This was not merely handsomeness in the classical sense. Gable possessed something more primal and powerful, sheer, overwhelming masculine presence. He didn't have the perfect, features of a Tyrone power, or the ethereal beauty of a Montgomery Clift. What he had was an avalanche of charm, anchored by one of the most iconic faces ever captured on film. The broad shoulders, the thick mustache, the famously prominent ears, which MGM initially wanted to surgically alter, and that smile, a grin that was at once mischievous, confident, and utterly disarming. And then there were the eyes, which could smolder with romance or flash with intimidating authority. Gable's handsomeness was virile, confident, and deeply American. He was the grown-up, sophisticated version of the boy from the farm who made good. He could play a rugged adventurer, a cynical reporter, or a ruthless businessman, and in every role, that Gable magnetism was the engine. In the seminal romantic comedy, It Happened One Night, he created the template for the modern romantic lead. As newspaperman Peter warned, he is brash, opinionated, and wholly irresistible. His scenes with Claudette Colbert crackle with a sexy, combative energy. When he teaches her the proper way to dunk a donut or famously removes his shirt to reveal no undershirt, a move that reportedly devastated undershirt sales nationwide. He exudes a casual, working man's sex appeal that was groundbreaking. He was handsome, but more importantly, he was desirable. All of this was mere prelude to his immortal role as Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind. Here, Gable's persona reached its mythic apex. From his first appearance, looming out of the smoke at the bottom of the 12 Oak staircase, he owns the screen. Rhett is a scoundrel, a blockade runner, a man of scandal and wit, and Gable plays him with a wicked gleam in his eye. His handsomeness here is mature, weathered by experience, and full of dangerous knowledge. The famous closing line, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn," is delivered not with a shout, but with a weary, devastating finality that is etched on his handsome, resigned face. He made selfishness charismatic and heartbreak epic. For generations, Clark Gable was Rhett Butler, the ultimate romantic anti-hero. Number 2. The King, Clark Gable. We are now in the rarefied air of Hollywood royalty. At number 2, we pay homage to the King, Clark Gable. This was not merely handsomeness in the classical sense. Gable possessed something more primal and powerful, sheer, overwhelming masculine presence. He didn't have the perfect features of a Tyrone power or the ethereal beauty of a Montgomery Clift. What he had was an avalanche of charm, anchored by one of the most iconic faces ever captured on film. The broad shoulders, the thick mustache, the famously prominent ears, which MGM initially wanted to surgically alter, and that smile, a grin that was at once mischievous, confident, and utterly disarming. And then there were the eyes, which could smolder with romance or flash with intimidating authority. Gable's handsomeness was virile, confident, and deeply American. He was the grown-up, sophisticated version of the boy from the farm who made good. He could play a rugged adventurer, a cynical reporter, or a ruthless businessman, and in every role, that Gable magnetism was the engine. In the seminal romantic comedy, It Happened One Night, he created the template for the modern romantic lead. As newspaperman Peter warned, he is brash, opinionated, and wholly irresistible. His scenes with Claudette Colbert crackle with a sexy, combative energy. When he teaches her the proper way to dunk a donut or famously removes his shirt to reveal no undershirt, a move that reportedly devastated undershirt sales nationwide. He exudes a casual, working man's sex appeal that was groundbreaking. He was handsome, but more importantly, he was desirable. All of this was mere prelude to his immortal role as Rhett Butler in Gone with the Wind. Here, Gable's persona reached its mythic apex. From his first appearance, looming out of the smoke at the bottom of the 12 Oak staircase, he owns the screen. Rhett is a scoundrel, a blockade runner, a man of scandal and wit, and Gable plays him with a wicked gleam in his eye. His handsomeness here is mature, weathered by experience, and full of dangerous knowledge. The famous closing line, "Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn," is delivered not with a shout, but with a weary, devastating finality that is etched on his handsome, resigned face. He made selfishness charismatic and heartbreak epic. For generations, Clark Gable was Rhett Butler, the ultimate romantic anti-hero. Number 1. The epitome of elegance, Cary Grant. And now, we arrive at the pinnacle, the summit of Golden Age handsomeness. A peak so graceful and enduring. It seems less a product of nature and more a work of art. Our number one. The man who defined and still defines suave sophistication. Cary Grant. To speak of Cary Grant's looks is to speak of something more than mere anatomy. It is to discuss a fully realized persona, a conscious construction of elegance, wit, and charm so seamless it became his second nature. Archibald Leach from Bristol transformed himself into Cary Grant, the ultimate self-made man in the most literal sense, and in doing so, created the most durable template for male style and appeal in the 20th century. Let's start with the raw material. It was exceptional. The dark, swept-back hair, the strong, expressive eyebrows, the perfect tan, and that jawline, a marvel of architecture that seemed to defy gravity. But Grant's secret weapon was his bearing. He moved with the relaxed, unconscious grace of a panther. Whether he was being chased by a crop duster in North by Northwest, sparring with Rosalind Russell at breakneck speed in His Girl Friday, or simply lighting a cigarette, every gesture was economical, confident, and cool. He wore clothes not as costume, but as a natural extension of himself. The impeccably tailored suits, the crisp white shirts, the casual knits. On him, they looked inevitable. He made perfection look easy. His face was phenomenally expressive, capable of shifting from urbane amusement to genuine terror to deep romantic longing in a heartbeat. Alfred Hitchcock, who used Grant's persona to perfection in films like Notorious, To Catch a Thief, and North by Northwest, understood that Grant's elegance made him the perfect everyman in a suit, an ordinary man thrust into extraordinary danger. In Notorious, watch his face during the famous, minutes-long kiss with Ingrid Bergman, or the agonized tension as he watches her being poisoned. The sophistication is still there, but it's cracked open to reveal raw, desperate emotion. His handsomeness in these moments isn't a shield. It's what makes his vulnerability so powerful. And then there is the Grant smile, perhaps the most confident and infectious in film history. It wasn't just a movement of the mouth. It was a full-face event that lit up his eyes and communicated pure, unadulterated joy and mischief. In the sublime comedy The Philadelphia Story, he uses this smile as a weapon of charm against Katharine Hepburn and James Stewart. He is playing C.K. Dexter Haven, a man of wealth and taste who is also capable of being deeply hurt. And Grant navigates this with a light touch and profound depth. We believe he is the only man truly worthy of Hepburn, Tracy Lord, because he matches her in intelligence, spirit, and, yes, breathtaking style. Cary Grant's handsomeness endures as the absolute gold standard because it represented an ideal that was entirely within the realm of male self-improvement. It wasn't just about genetics. It was about posture, tailoring, wit, confidence, and grace under pressure. He proved that charm could be cultivated, that elegance was an attitude, and that the most attractive thing a man could be was utterly, unshakably himself. He is the reference point for every stylish leading man who followed, from Sean Connery to George Clooney, for blending physical perfection with peerless style, wit, and an ineffable magic that still feels modern decades later. Cary Grant is not just our number one most handsome Golden Age actor. He is, quite simply, Cary Grant. And that says it all. And so concludes our tour through the portrait gallery of Hollywood's most magnificent faces, from Clift's tortured soul to Flynn's boundless joy, from Peck's unwavering integrity to Newman's rebellious cool, from Gable's commanding power to Grant's effortless elegance. These 6 men defined the very look of an era. They gave us more than just movies. They gave us dreams shaped like men. Thank you for joining us on this nostalgic journey. Did we match your top 6? Who would be on your personal list? The debate is half the fun, so let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this glimpse into the Golden Age, please give us a thumbs up, share this video with a fellow classic film lover, and subscribe to Hollywood Secrets. We're just getting started uncovering the tales from Tinseltown's past. Until next time, remember, in the words of Mr. Grant himself, everybody wants to be Cary Grant. Even I want to be Cary Grant.